I've got both good news and bad news if you're a Tennessee Titans fan who does not like listening to Tony Romo. The bad news is Tony Romo is coming back for another season. The good news is I don't think he's calling any one of your games. Welcome everybody to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Giawagar9, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we are talking about the big news that just got announced with CBS as they announced their depth chart and their commentators for the 2025 NFL season. A couple of changes compared to 2024, so I want to break those down and break down the depth chart. Not a ton of surprises for the most part, but there are some changes that we do need to make note of. Obviously, there are no changes with the number one crew, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and silent reporter Tracy Wolfson coming back for another season as the A crew. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, that is your number 3 crew. Your C crew, nothing changing there. But I want to talk about some of the other crews that have been announced for 2025. Starting off actually with the number 4 crew, because the biggest change and the biggest thing that took place that I don't think a lot of people saw coming based on this past season is that Tiki Barber is no longer there. Tiki Barber is no longer calling games for the NFL on CBS. We wondered where Charles Davis would go after being knocked off the number 2 role for J.J. Watt. More on that in just a little bit. But Tiki Barber is now with the New York Giants radio team. He'll be doing games for them, so he is no longer with Andrew Catalon and Jason McCourty. In my opinion, this is a really good move for CBS. This is addition by subtraction. Tiki Barber was on the call for a lot of Jaguars games last season, and he was absolutely terrible. I love listening to McCourty. Catalon is the consummate professional. I love listening to him, but Tiki Barber, it was ear grating. He was absolutely terrible. It seemed like he was always trying to get the last word in. He seemed to be very arrogant. He didn't have that chemistry with Catalon or McCourty. He did no prep work. One of the things that was very obvious with Tiki Barber is that he would not do the work necessary beforehand and would just talk out of his butt sometimes. Brian Thomas Jr. is an incredible receiver with the Jacksonville Jaguars. First round pick out of LSU, finished the season 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards, only behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I bring that up because Brian Thomas Jr., despite being very good, Tiki Barber had no idea who he was and repeatedly got his name wrong, calling him a different name on different broadcasts. Sometimes it would be Brian Robinson. Other times it would be Brian Jones. It could have been Brian Tortellini if he called another game for all I know. Point is that Tiki Barber was not good at this role, and it felt as if he was watching a different game than me half the time. He called the Jaguars-Eagles game, and that was a prime example of that. He thought the Jaguars should have gone for 2 after being down by 8 points after a touchdown with 4 minutes to go after Trevor Lawrence found the end zone. Now, I don't hate the logic. I've done videos before on why teams go for 2 down by 8 points, so I didn't have a problem with that. The problem is that the touchdown made it 28-22, and the Jaguars were down by 6. So it was talking about the analytics and going for 2 down by 8 when the Jaguars were not down by 8 points. They were down by 6. So good job there, Tiki. That made a ton of sense. He also thought that the Jaguars needed to be ready for a possible tush push as the Eagles were lining up to go for it on 4th down, which makes sense if it wasn't for the fact that it was 4th and 3. And I don't know about you, I've never seen the Eagles run the tush push on 4th and 3. So Tiki Barber is gone. Charles Davis is now in with Catalon and McCourty. I've never been crazy about 3-man boots in the NFL. There are very few at the professional level for football that have been successfully able to pull it off. And the ones that have, you're looking at Monday Night Football back in the day. You're looking at the iconic boots from the 70s with Howard Cosell, and then the Al Michaels booth with Joe Theismann in the 1990s and the late 1980s. But this might have the best chance at working of any 3-man booth I've seen in the 21st century at the NFL level, because Catalon, Davis, and McCourty are all good at what they do, and I don't think it's going to be too many voices. I think they're going to know how to rotate with each other and how to provide appropriate analysis at the appropriate times. In terms of other teams on the depth chart, I want to talk for a second about the number 5 crew, because this just shows how deep CBS is when Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta are your 5 crew. Compared to whenever Fox's depth chart comes out, and usually that comes out about a day or two after CBS, so it could come out as you're watching this video for all I know, it is like night and day. Spiro has improved a lot over the years. You've seen him climb up the depth chart ranks with March Madness. You've seen him get into the second weekend and do some more assignments, which I'm really, really happy about because he deserves it. I didn't like when they split up Spiro and Adam. I didn't know what that meant for the network. When Spiro was on the call with Jay Feely and Greg Gumbel, rest in peace, was on the call with Adam Archuleta, they didn't seem to have good chemistry with each other. Spiro, Adam it seemed as if they were starting to find their rhythm, and then CBS executives made the decision to split them up. Finally, they put them back together. It's worked very well. They picked up right where they left off, and they're keeping them intact, which I'm really, really happy about. I have a feeling I'm going to hear a lot of Spiro and Adam this season as a Jaguars fan. They are the quintessential AFC South 1 o'clock team, it seems like, but a super underrated combination and a combo that would easily be number 3 on Fox, but CBS is just that deep on their depth chart. Speaking of guys that are not on the depth chart anymore, Jay Feely, I mentioned him earlier. Jay Feely is no longer with the NFL on CBS as he is running for office pursuing a political career in Arizona. I don't want to talk about the political career, but all I will say is thank God I don't have to listen to him call games anymore because he offered nothing. He never seemed comfortable in that color commentator role. 5 years ago, he did Jaguars Vikings with Beth Mowins. It was one of the worst broadcasts I've ever listened to. He has not gotten any better, and I'm just glad that Jay Feely is no longer there. So for the most part, pretty good news with CBS looking at the depth chart. Don't have a ton of complaints, except for the number 2 team. Because now we need to talk about J.J. Watt on the second team, meaning he will do a playoff game. Ian Eagle, play-by-play, my opinion, the best play-by-play person at CBS. I think he is better than Jim Nantz at this point. I would like to see Ian Eagle at some point become the number 1 because I think Nantz has lost his fastball a little bit. He's still good, but not as good as Ian Eagle. And Tony Romo's gotten a bit complacent at times. I would like to see a change at some point. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know, or whether it'll come after Nantz retires, or whether he'll be forced out. Who's to say? But I like Ian Eagle a lot. Evan Washburn, obviously, very, very good at his job. I like him on the sidelines. J.J. Watt, I'm a bit concerned about. Now, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming for a while, so no real surprises here. J.J. Watt was announced as the number 2 because Charles Davis, not really demoted, he is taking over for Gary Danielson as the number 1 color commentator for the college football broadcast that CBS has with the Big Ten. So Charles Davis is just in limbo until 2026. So they decided, let's put J.J. Watt with Eagle this year, and he will be there in the number 2 spot for 26. My concern with this is that J.J. Watt, I was not crazy about him in any role that he's had with CBS. I wasn't crazy about him on the NFL Today. I wasn't crazy about him when he called the game on Netflix. It seemed like he was trying too hard. He seemed to have no real flow for the game from a commentary standpoint, and he does get very biased at times in favor of one team. I am worried if you have Texans games on there, or if you have games involving the Steelers where TJ Watt is playing, that JJ Watt's bias will show. Not that bias is a bad thing in certain roles, but when you are a color commentator, he makes it very, very obvious in his studio shows, and he made it very obvious when he was doing the Netflix game. I'm also not sure what kind of message this sends to people working at the network, because J.J. Watt missed half the time in the studio last year. He called out a lot of days because he was with Burnley. Remember, he is a part owner in Burnley, the soccer club over in England, and he gets rewarded with promotion after that. I'm not crazy about that. I do like the fact that the NFL Today is now down to just 4 people. I'm not crazy about Bill Cowher still being there. He feels very crotchety, old man at this point, complaining about a lot of stuff, but fewer heads, the better. I think a lot of studio shows have trended in the direction of having so many cooks in the kitchen, and now you got 4. It's more focused. I do like that. So no problems with that whatsoever, but J.J. Watt as the number 2 with no real resume to speak of, I don't know about that. putting him as the marquee 1 o'clock announcer, putting him on a playoff game when he hasn't done anything. Personally, I would not have done that. Personally, what I would have done, well, number one, I would have put Matt Ryan, left him out of the studio and put him on the broadcast because he was great before he went to the studio. I thought Matt Ryan was great in 2023 when he was doing games, but assuming that you had to stick with the guys currently announcing, what I would have done is I would have kept Charles Davis as the number 2 guy for another year. I would have slot J.J. Watt on the number 4 team, so the D team, alongside Catalan and McCourty in a 3-man booth. Now, it might be a bit redundant to have Watt and McCourty in a booth together because you have 2 defenders who played in the same era, so their talking points might be a bit similar, and the point of a color commentator is to provide analysis, talking points, provide something that you can't just get from looking up or from just watching the game itself. And when you have 2 defenders who play in the same era, it might be redundant, might not make a lot of sense to have that, but I think this would allow J.J. Watt to find his rhythm in low-leverage spots, not to talk as much, and then, depending on how he does or how McCourty does, promote either him or McCourty to the number 2 role. This just seems like an undeserved promotion based on what we've seen out of J.J. Watt so far and based on how he performed with CBS and with Netflix in 2024. So I'm not crazy about that, but no surprises anywhere in terms of the top 3 crews. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Catalan Davis McCourty 3-man booth. Again, this is a 1-year experiment because Charles Davis is going to the college ranks in 26. So he's kind of in limbo right now during 25 while Gary Danielson goes on his retirement tour. No other surprises. We'll see if Fox has any surprises when they announce their depth chart. But for the most part, I do like this. The only thing I don't like, we expected that for a while. But what are your thoughts on the NFL on CBS announcers for the 2025 season? Do you like the depth chart? Do you not like the depth chart? Do you like Tiki Barber not being there? Jay Feely? Do you like Charles Davis in a 3-man booth? Do you like J.J. Watt as number 2? What are your thoughts on Nance and Romo? Let me know all your thoughts on everything in the comments down below. And that is going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe down below. It really helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk about all things NFL history all the time. And we stream all the primetime games live and provide a commentary on those as well. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.